friend. Welcome to the podcast. I am Melissa Matheson, and I hope that spring forward thing on Sunday was just the push you needed to keep moving and marching forward through the month. You could think of it as losing an hour of sleep, or you could see it as a sign that there's something pretty great just around the corner that March can't wait for you to get to. So, voila, daylight savings to the rescue to help you spring forward. Well, it's Wednesday, and that means the camels are here. Inspired by a story in the Bible in Genesis 24, we like to spend Wednesdays talking with some of my married friends, hear their stories of how they met, dated, and married. I sat down with my friends Beau and Lauren a couple of weeks ago, and their story is one for the books. Although I knew parts of their story, this was the first time I had heard it all. You'll never guess how they met or when. So grab your coffee and join us at the table. We're talking about childhood dreams, the cool kids, and church camp. Today on What's Next, God? But you're not drinking coffee, Lauren. Are you always not a coffee drinker?
I like iced coffee, but it's still kind of rare for me. I have started drinking it more often than not. Occasionally I drink hot, but I am more tea.
You are more tea?
Yeah.
Like, what's your favorite hot tea to drink? Do you have one?
Okay, right now I would say it would be English breakfast tea with either some cream in it or we're on like an oat milk kick. You know, I feel like everybody is right now.
Yes.
But that's good in there. And then like a little tiny bit of Truvia. Because stevia, I just don't really like it.
Aftertaste with it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've been drinking that like almost every day.
Yeah. A bit like a London fog.
Yes.
That's what those are.
Yeah.
But have you done the oat milk yet? Have you tried it?
Oh, yes. I actually have some in the fridge right now. I didn't know that that's what you drank.
No. We've just been like doing a little bit.
Yeah,
and I've
just
been
a little.
making it myself.
Okay.
Save a little money, save a little time.
He's fancy.
And
You're
it's
making
so
your
good.
own oat milk?
It's so easy. And it's so good.
Beau.
I mean, I just had to do it. I just had to figure it out.
Okay, how do you make oat milk? You put it in water.
It's just,
your oats in water.
It's literally a cup of oats, a quarter of a cup of cashews, 4 cups of water.
You do cashews in yours.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
and
it makes
then
it fattier.
Yeah, okay, good. That makes it bind together.
Yeah.
And then you let it sit, overnight?
Nope, you literally blend it up right there for about
Right
30
there.
seconds. Because if you let it sit, it gets slimy. And it gets like, it gets like too thick kind of deal.
So you don't strain it with cheesecloth?
I
You
do.
do.
So
Okay.
I do it right there, and then I strain it, and then it's good.
And it's good to go.
Good to
and you
go.
have oat milk.
It's delicious.
He did make it one other time with not cashews. Would you use?
Walnuts.
And it
Wasn't your favorite?
it was kind of like translucent. It wasn't.
It just didn't.
And that
wasn't
turned
fatty
me
enough.
off. I couldn't drink it
Yeah.
because it kind of looked like dirty water.
The cashews probably helped bind everything
And it
give
helps
it
it froth
makes
if
it
you want it to
creamy.
make it frothy.
Oh, that's
for
true.
like a latte.
Because it's got all the fat in it, in the
So good.
cashews. All right, but you are a coffee drinker, Beau. Yes.
100%.
100%. All day, every day?
All day, every day. And
Several times a day.
And I'm like really picky about it too. So I lately have been like, maybe I should start roasting my own coffee. Buying like the little $50 roaster from Amazon and just buying it. I was like, I need to start doing this.
I'm looking for a coffy roaster.
We need to figure it out.
I'm looking for somebody that wants to wholesale me some good roasted coffee, but I'm going to be picky about it.
We need to do
That's
this.
So
kinda
if
makes
you
me
go into
nervous.
the business,
To be picky about it.
well,
I'm like,
picky.
I got a fresh
I just don't want anybody from China calling me. I'm going, I got some roasted beans. I heard you needed some on your podcast. No.
I'm like, I got a fresh batch. Come over. You're like, be there in 10. Drops everything, comes to my house.
So,
Smells
I
great
mean,
in here.
picky is in, I got to maybe know you, or you've got to have a reputation, or you got to give me a lot of samples to try. That kind of picky kind of thing before I just serve this up to my friends.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
Yeah.
and before I can recommend it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you're listening and you're a wholesale coffee roaster, you better get with me before Beau goes into the coffee roasting business, because I might be his first client.
So,
You know how much coffee we go through doing this podcast. It's the
Oh,
best.
yeah.
It's until-
I
I
love
can't
it.
imagine.
It's
It's so much fun. We just drink coffee. And then sometimes we finish recording and then we have a second cup because we
praise be to God.
we just like coffee.
We'll be
Sounds
here in the
like
morning
Beau.
with
Yeah.
coffee.
Dave loves coffee. It's all Dave's fault. I blame my husband, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't drink coffee before I got married. And now look at me.
Yeah.
I'm just like, 5 cups a
He
day.
literally
sure.
was heartbroken that I'm not a huge coffee drinker.
When we got married, I had all these dreams. You see the Pinterest pictures, and you're like, "Oh, look at this couple! They're so beautiful, drinking that coffee together
on their front porch swing."
Yeah, and I'm like, "We're going to go all together, drink coffee." We got married, and Lauren was like, "I'm going to tell you the truth now." I was like, "I don't know if we should be together anymore, but it's too late." So, but sometimes she gets on like this kick, and she's like, I think I want an iced coffee today. I'm like, I'm on it, babe.
You got
and I'm
it.
like making the best iced coffee.
He literally asked me, "Do you want cinnamon? Do you want cream? Do you want whipped cream? I'll make you homemade whipped cream right now."
Yeah.
See,
anything.
This is so great. I love that you're making coffee for her, because we have several of our married couples that have been on the podcast with us that make the coffee for their wives. Stephen Womack, Josh Hollingsworth, Andrew Johnson does the fancy coffee.
Yeah.
For Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I love, and Dave makes my coffee for me. I love how our husbands can serve us when we have coffee needs.
Such a perfect.
So, yeah, I love that. All right, we're talking about how you met, dated, and married. And anything else that happens to come out of this conversation.
For sure.
Warning, we have no idea what we're going to talk about or which direction we're going to go. So this is going to be exciting. We're going to roll the dice. All right, but how long have you been married?
It'll be
a little over 3 years.
A little over 3. Yep. This year we'll make 4 in November.
4 in November. Because I met you after you were married.
Yes.
How long have I known you? 2.5? 2.5 years you've been?
Yes.
Yeah.
We came here in 2017.
Right after we got married.
Yeah.
We'd been married like 9 months when we moved here.
That's right. Yeah. But now you're married and you have the most beautiful little girl.
Thank you.
Tell me about her.
She's 9 months old now. And she is sassy already.
Is she really? Because she's always so good every time I see her.
Okay, she's a very good baby. Like, I'm just grateful, blessed, because she is really good.
Blessed.
Obviously, she is really like clingy and whiny with me. I don't know if it's like because I'm the mom thing. But yeah, she's a really good baby and very friendly. Like she loves everybody. She loves when we're around lots of people.
Yeah.
So he loves that because he's such an extrovert and loves hosting. So
I prayed when she was pregnant. I was like holding her belly. I'm like, God, let this baby be extrovert just like her daddy. We can have friends over all the time.
All the time.
Because Lauren is like very introverted. She loves to be home and nobody over and all day in pajamas kind of deal. And after like,
don't sell me out like that.
It's okay.
I get dressed sometimes.
After like 4 or 5, it's okay. But after like 4 or 5 days, Lauren's at her peak. The house is clean. Everything's great. And I'm like, I can't go on anymore. God doesn't love me because I'm not myself. Obviously I know he does, but I'm like, I have to have people. This baby needs people. And so it's great.
Yeah. So that's a lot like Dave and I. Dave is the extrovert and I'm like Lauren.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm actually really the introvert. I love home. I love quiet. I love my alone time.
Me too.
That's how I recharge is to be by myself. But then there are people that need to be around other people.
Yes.
Need conversation.
Yeah, I do enjoy hanging out with friends and doing stuff.
Yes.
But I can only handle so much
Yes.
of the busyness.
Yes.
And I need to retreat, go spend some time alone.
And that is perfectly okay.
Yes.
But it's not that we don't like people. We just, sometimes we get overstimulated and we just need to retreat for a little bit.
Yes. Which I do also, I noticed that about Selah, that my daughter, I never said her name.
No, I love that too.
That she does get like that too sometimes. Like whenever she's had enough, that she's had enough. She gets real cranky. She's really serious about her sleep. Yeah. Like real serious.
Which is great. We were really thankful for that. Because at one point it was like,
it was tough.
This baby's never going to sleep. We're never going to sleep.
Yeah.
It's like blink, blink, blink. She's 18 years old and we're finally going to have a nap.
My sister's going through that with her baby.
Yeah.
Now. He's 6
it was
months.
tough. Well, we sleep trained at 5.5 months and it changed my life.
It worked.
Because I was going to go insane. Like she went through this period of doing really well. And then all of a sudden we traveled for a couple weeks and it just threw everything off. And after that, she was waking 10 times a night.
Oh, no.
5 to 10 times. She wanted to be held all night long. I'd never wanted to co-sleep, but from about 3 to 5.5 months, I ended up putting her in the bed with me. And it was just, it was hard.
Yeah.
It was so hard. And so we sleep trained, and now she's amazing. Sleeps so good.
And she's 9 months now?
Yeah, she just turned 9 months.
Oh, I bet that just changed your world upside down, didn't
and
it?
this whole week has been like huge. She turned 9 months on Monday. Tuesday, I found that she had a little tooth growing in. Her first tooth.
It was the perfect week for us to come to this podcast because everything happened this week.
And she started clapping this week.
And it's so great.
Many fun things.
What's so funny is like when she started crawling, I was like, oh, yay. She started standing up. I was like, yay. And then I saw a tooth coming in and I sobbed. I don't know why. I got so emotional. But it's fine. I cried so hard and I called everybody.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah, but
this will be funny until she bites down on you one day. Yeah.
Well, she already has a really strong bite, like with her gums.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah.
She loves to eat.
So many firsts.
Yes.
Yeah. Just treasure them all.
Yeah.
Because you're going to blink one day and you're just going to go, I don't even know when this happened, but she's going to be grown.
Yeah.
They say that and they don't. Like, I look at my kids and it feels like they were babies yesterday, but it feels like it's been forever ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like I've had them my whole life. So it's like, what is that, an oxymoron when it doesn't seem to make sense? Like it seems to contradict itself. So it's like, it goes by so fast, but it feels like it lasts forever.
Yes.
So you don't have to grieve that it goes by so fast because it feels like they've been here forever kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think I miss my kids being babies. I just think you watch them grow and you just know that's such a natural process that you can kind of just celebrate all of these little things as they get big.
Yeah.
And then you don't miss where they were. I don't miss where I was.
Yeah.
10, 15, 20 years ago. And so, they've just all grown up.
Yeah.
Speaking of where we were 10, 15 years ago, where are you guys from?
Okay, we're both from Kentucky. Mm-hmm. I'm from Bowling Green,
West Kentucky.
Western. And he's from way eastern.
Like
Kentucky.
20 minutes from Virginia. Not even 20, like 15 minutes from Virginia.
So both from Kentucky, but nowhere near each other.
Right. We were
like
4 hours away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about how you grew up, Lauren.
Okay, so I don't even know where to start.
Do you have siblings, brothers,
yes.
sisters?
I have a younger brother.
Okay.
We have different dads.
Okay.
And then I have an older sister. We have the same mom and same dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I lived with my mom up until like 4th grade. And then there was just a lot that happened, a lot in our family. My sister and I ended up having to go live with our grandparents.
Oh, okay.
My brother went and lived with his dad. And so I lived with my grandparents for a long time. I went to church my whole life.
Okay, I was about to ask that.
Yeah, so I went to church since I was born. And then in high school, I ended up moving with my dad and living with him and was still in church. I, got filled with the Holy Ghost, baptism, and speaking in tongues and all that when I was 11 for the first time.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was crazy. And, but somewhere in high school, I ended up kind of straying from
gotcha.
the Lord and, just falling into a lot of not great things.
Yeah, and that was in high school?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, you also sing. When did you start singing?
Oh my gosh.
Were you little?
Yes.
Okay.
I've sang forever. I remember being like 4 and 5 years old at my babysitter's house with my friends. We tried to write songs and they were not good. Yeah. So I've always sang. I remember also, some people in my family, I would sing for them and be like, do I sing good? And they'd be like, yes, honey, you sing so good.
Of course you do.
And then I'm not going to say who, but there was one time when someone else gave me their honest opinion and she was like, well, you're kind of singing through your nose. And it broke my little heart. I was like 8 or something. And so it set me on a journey to do better.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was good then. That was constructive where it caused you to want to improve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you were able to receive that.
Yes.
Well, that encouragement.
Yeah.
In a way that helped you grow.
Yeah. I think also another big turning point was I my family put me in guitar lessons when I was 11, I think. And so that was when I finally started to be able to like put an instrument with my singing. Because I wrote songs like nobody's business.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I probably wrote like 2 songs a day at least.
Do you still have them? Please tell me you still have them.
Okay, I still
somewhere.
have some.
Okay.
And I remember a lot of them. This is so sad. I typed them all up on my laptop that I had, which I don't know why I had a laptop when I was 11, 12, but I did. So
I think I know where you're going to go with this
I typed
story.
them all
It's going
up,
to be so sad.
and the computer crashed.
I knew you were going to say that.
I cried so hard.
Yeah.
And my dad tried really hard to recover it all for me, and it was gone, because the laptops back then were not like they are now, and we were
didn't
not
have,
as
like, the
tech
cloud
savvy
and all of the things. I mean, we had kind of like a cloud, but it was like,
I don't even know.
it didn't
was
feel like it was
sad.
as accessible then, you know?
Yeah.
But, oh God.
Yeah, it was really sad and heartbreaking.
That is sad.
But I pushed through, got over it, and I kept writing anyway. So, yeah.
Are you guys the same age?
Yes.
Lauren is a few months older than me.
A few months older. Okay, so while she is crying over a laptop that crashed with all her songs on it, what are you doing about that age, Beau?
So that was how old were you?
I was like 11 or 12, maybe. 11.
So this is a really transitional age for me, actually. No, this is crazy. It really is. So I had actually, my whole family's musical. So my parents were the worship pastors at our church, and I literally just turned 11. I asked for a drum set that Christmas, and I'd been like practicing, and then our church drummer and I was no good. I could keep a beat barely. And at that time, our church drummer had transitioned and wanted to do something else in the worship team, and some other people were moving in and out. So we're like, hey, you want to start playing the drums at church? I was like, sure. Well, it was not good. I was up there for a few months, and they were like, we're going to move you to keyboard, because I was much better at the keyboard. So they moved me to the keyboard. And so I want to say within like the next 2 years, but up to like about 13, I started leading worship at our church. So that's honestly, thinking about it now, that was the biggest thing I was doing. I wasn't very involved with sports, or didn't have a lot of friends. I was going to church.
Yep.
And that was pretty much my life.
Parents are worship pastors, and this is what you do.
We're a smaller church in Eastern Kentucky. I mean, the population of my hometown is like 2,100 people.
Oh, it's so small.
It's smaller than Hamilton.
The whole county is about 20,000.
Oh my goodness.
But the town itself, where we were, was about 2,100. And so a lot of, there are surrounding towns within about 20 minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes.
But still.
That have a lot of people as well. But it's like, when we had church, it was like people are coming out of, you never know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
It's like people were coming from the next county over, and we had one of the larger churches in town. I mean, which talking about now, you're going to be like, what? We were running almost 200 people.
But that's a lot for a small town.
In such a small area, and we were outgrowing the building.
Yeah.
We were having to get another building. We just got a new pastor, and it was like God was doing some crazy stuff.
That was some anointed worship you were doing.
Well, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. My mom is phenomenal. My parents are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And they were just kind of like, opening space for me to kind of do what they felt like God was doing in my life, which I was still going through a lot. My parents really wanted me to be like a sports kid, and Dad was like, you're going to play football this year. And I was like, no. God, no.
Please don't make me.
Please, which, it all ended up working out. But it was, at that time, we hadn't even met each other yet.
No. What's funny, though, that he was leading worship at that age. When I started playing guitar, I started, wanting to like sing and play at church.
Yeah.
And so I went to a really small church too at the time. So I would get up there with my little guitar that was not even an electric acoustic. So I didn't plug up or anything. I'd stand on the stage, or I would sit on the front row bench. And I would sing, and not even always sing worship songs. They would literally say, Lauren, do you have a song for us today? And I'd get up there, and I would sometimes sing Hannah Montana. I'm not kidding.
It was just whatever was inspirational.
Whatever song I heard that was inspirational, I was like this would be good. And I would sing it.
I tell you what, though, God can speak in mysterious ways. And if he wants to speak through you playing and singing a Hannah Montana song, then he can do that. Because he's just God.
And those old church ladies were like, Lauren, you touched my heart today.
Because they had no idea it was
Hannah Montana.
Because there was a message there.
Yeah.
What's that one about climbing the mountain?
The Climb.
Oh, the Climb. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I sang that one at one time.
Yeah, that's like, that one moved me. The first time I heard that, that song moved me.
And that's what I would look
so
for.
good.
I didn't specifically look for like, oh, this song talks about Jesus. I would always think this song is so inspirational.
Yes.
So I would get up there and I'd sing it. My little red guitar had my name airbrushed on it at the flea market. Lauren.
This is too much. Do you still have that guitar?
I don't, but I'm pretty sure it's in the shed at my stepmom's house.
You have to save that.
We do have
you have to save that.
I do.
Your kids and your grandkids are going to need to see this red guitar with your name.
We need to put that on display at the house, honey, in the guest bedroom.
Calm down.
This is your heritage.
I'm crying.
Oh gosh. This is so good.
Yeah, you have to go get that and bring it out.
Okay.
All right. So wait, who was Eastern Kentucky and who was Western?
I'm Eastern.
You're Eastern. Okay. So you're over here, Lauren, in Western Kentucky.
Yes.
Playing, writing music. And then there's Beau, 4 hours away at the same age, doing the same thing.
Gosh, I know.
Just look at God.
It's so interesting.
It's so crazy to think about.
Yeah. How he was just setting all of this up for you too.
Yeah.
Where did we actually cross paths?
Church camp. In the middle. It was like somewhere in the middle. There was this church camp that all of my friends had went to. They went to the older camp, the senior camp. And
I actually started going when I was 9.
Yeah.
So I had been for a few years before he came.
And I went to a different church camp at that time.
Yeah.
So this was when we had gotten new pastors. They were like, we're going to take everybody to this camp. And I was so excited because I had heard these literally crazy God stories. Like my parents had went for like a retreat once and they were like God changed their lives. People that had went to this camp, and I don't mean to get super serious, but it was like people had been going to this camp and their lives were getting so transformed. So when the pastors were like, we're taking the kids this year, I was like, yes, I was so excited. So
how old were you?
13. We were 13.
And that's when we met.
You met when you were 13?
Yeah.
At church camp.
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago.
Oh,
this
we're
year.
23.
We're 23. This year will be 10 years that we had known each other.
That's so crazy because I said, where were we 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
That is so
crazy.
crazy.
You were at church camp.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, I didn't even know. God did.
He did.
All right, 13, church camp. Did we like each other right away?
Okay.
Lauren's shaking her head.
This is tea, okay?
All right.
This is tea.
Spill the tea.
Everybody, I got there and I didn't know who Lauren was until day 3.
This is so embarrassing.
I didn't know who she was, but all the people who had been there before were like, there's this girl, her name's Lauren Bird. And I was like, okay.
Oh my God.
And they're like, and she's so cool. She sings so good.
I was way different than I am now.
No.
Well, at the time, you had pink hair.
Did I that? I don't think I did that year.
I don't think you did that year the next year.
Yeah.
But Lauren was like, what at the time was called scene, like the scene kid. So the chunky shoes, the super tight ripped jeans, the black t-shirt with neon colors. Yeah.
Hair in your face.
Yeah, hair in your face. And there was one year it was the whole underneath of her hair was pink and the top of her hair was brown. And I thought she was so cool. But everybody else was like, this girl is beautiful. Everybody thinks she's so cool. She sings so good. And I was like, okay, cool. And then it wasn't until I guess it was on Wednesday at a talent show, I think, that I heard you
singing
and another girl got up and sang together.
We sang the same song every year.
And it was so,
You Won't Relent, Misty Edwards.
And it was
every year. Well, it wasn't a winning thing. It was just
show
get up
yourself
there.
A showcase. Okay.
Yeah.
But it was so intense. It was before worship even started. And then the song's over and everybody's like,
heavy.
Heavy. And they're like, all right, we're going to sing an upbeat worship song. And it was very interesting, but she sang great. And I was like, wow, this
Thank
girl
you.
really is good.
Thank you.
And so we met that day, I think.
I actually don't remember the moment we met.
And I don't remember if it was that day or if it was like that night at service or something. It was like, I just remember we were sitting at a picnic table. I just wandered over there to say hey.
I remember.
And she was with another boy at the time. Whatever.
I had this
It was her church camp boyfriend.
every year.
Is it the same boy or was it?
It was
Yeah.
the same boy every
Same
year.
boy every
We
year.
know him now. He's a great guy. He really is.
He's
He's
married
married.
now.
And,
Yeah.
has a great
But
life.
he was your church camp boyfriend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I get over there and they're just like together talking. And I'm like, hey, how y'all doing? And I'm,
Country bumpkin.
I'm like so Southern from Eastern Kentucky, from the mountains. Ain't nobody ever go there. And I get over there and we're talking and I said something. I was like, well, Lauren asked me a question. And I said, yeah, I reckon. She said, what does I reckon mean? I was like,
I don't believe him
Lord,
when he tells me that.
I promise. She's like, what does that mean? I was like, it means like, I guess so. And she was like, why don't you just say I guess so? And I'm like, well, way to make me feel stupid.
I'm so
So I didn't
sorry.
like her after that.
Not true.
I mean, I still thought you were cute, but I was like, whatever, this girl.
Whatever.
Mean.
She's mean.
Yeah.
And she's got a church camp boyfriend.
It's fine.
But the next year at church camp,
Okay, wait. So that
Okay.
was it. Y'all left and go back home.
We would
and
just
that
see
was
each other
it.
like once a
at
year.
church
yeah,
camp.
then we didn't talk in between.
Stop it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're 14. We go back to church camp.
Yes.
Yeah.
What
And
happens?
so I-
any movement? Any forward
Well, I
movement?
go into
Same boyfriend
registration.
again.
Same boyfriend, same best friend. I walk in though to registration and she was there and she was like, hey, Beau. And I was like, hey, I couldn't believe she remembered me.
So
I
y'all weren't
remember
like friends
her.
on MySpace or anything?
No.
Like, oh.
I don't think we were
Not
yet.
Not yet.
All
I don't
right.
even know if we did MySpace at that because we didn't even add each other on Facebook until we were 15.
I'm glad you remember
Something like that. You know how I am. And so I get there and she remembered who I was. And I told my friends, I was like, Lauren remembered who I was. And they're all like, she remembered? I'm like, yeah. And they're like,
This
wow.
means something.
Yeah. But at the time, everybody still thought she was so cool and so cute. So everybody.
At the time, that makes it sound like there's going to be a shift where
well, I mean,
they don't
like,
think so
But
anymore.
is this the year you had pink hair?
I think it was.
that was your you had pink hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so everybody thought she was so cute. Everybody thought she was so cool. And I was like, well, whatever. Y'all can have her.
Y'all
You know?
Because you were still hurt from the last summer. Yeah.
I reckon.
I reckon. I
So-
reckon it's good to see you again, Lauren.
Yeah.
I
But
reckon.
Lauren was like the cool kid at camp. I mean, she really was.
Yeah.
Lauren was so
And I'm
cool.
not going to lie, I kind of
Everybody
knew I
loved her.
was.
Yeah.
And I was
When you're the cool
into
kid,
it.
you know.
It's
Yeah.
kind of embarrassing to think about, but I
And
look back
everybody
and
knew
I
she could
remember.
sing and all the stuff.
I
so.
just remember the first day where I would come for registration. I picked out my outfit, like this is what
yes.
I'm wearing, and I would,
Oh, yes.
even though I was there for the Lord.
Of course.
Eventually, at first I wasn't. I would walk in, walk down the parking lot, feeling myself. I knew
Yeah.
everybody thought I was cool.
Yeah.
I repent.
But I don't really think much happened that year.
Nothing happened that year either. All right.
But I feel like that was the year that we did talk after that
A little bit.
throughout the year.
Okay.
We
No,
did
no,
talk
it wasn't
some.
that year.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
It was 15
the
when we
next
became
year.
I'm just going to
Facebook.
trust him because he remembers
Yes.
everything about
Because
it.
I slowly became obsessed because everybody was like, you love this girl. I was like, no, I don't. Everybody was like, yes, you do.
You do, Beau.
I mean, we were friends.
You did.
But I guess
You
there was
did.
something going on. And so the next year, 15, we sang in the talent show together. You had purple hair that year.
Yes. We did. We sang together. What was the song that we sang?
We sang.
Carrie Job.
Oh, goodness
Maybe
gracious.
it'll come to us later.
I can't remember.
Be exalted.
Yeah.
Something. I don't know.
Be exalted. That one.
Yeah.
So you sang that.
We sang it
At the
together.
talent show. Wow, that's like a big step.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and
From
what was
I
really
reckon
big.
to Hey, how
Yeah.
are you to Let's Sing.
And
Yeah.
I still had the same boyfriend.
Yeah.
Again.
Did
But-
your church camp boyfriend, could he sing?
Yeah, he could sing, but
Did you ever sing in the talent show with him?
No, he would.
See?
He wasn't like a singer.
See? There you go, Beau. There you go, Beau. That was it.
But that year, she gave me her phone number.
Oh.
And that was the big step. I told everybody, Lauren Bird gave me her phone number. And everybody's like, ooh. All my friends are like, oh.
All the
my
boys in the
God.
cabin.
And I'm like, whatever. But we sang in the talent show that year. And after camp that year, I was like, I'm going to text Lauren. So I tried to keep up after that.
I wouldn't always reply.
Hardly ever.
But texting probably wasn't free back then, was it? Like, didn't you have to pay for
Maybe
text
so.
or minutes or something?
Yeah.
It's not hey, for all you young people listening now, if you're like under the age of 18, you used to have to pay to talk on the phone and pay for
and you
internet.
could only use so many letters at a time.
Yes, you could only have like
100 characters or
something like that at one time.
Yeah.
So if you had something long to say, you had to do several texts all in a row.
Yeah.
Yep.
So no. So this was hard. So you called her, texted her,
I just texted her,
but
here
she
and
didn't
there.
always reply.
No.
Sorry.
Were you playing hard to get? Why didn't you reply?
I
She just
honestly
wasn't
don't
interested.
remember.
I just don't think you were interested.
Not in that way,
as much
I
as
wasn't.
I was.
Gotcha.
Just as a friend, but I don't know. I just wasn't really huge on texting anyway, unless it was somebody I was like super close with.
Yeah.
So I'm really sorry about that.
All right. So 15, summer's over. We're talking a little bit, texting sometimes. 16, did we go back to summer camp?
We did, and we were closer friends by then.
Closer. Yeah. It was like we were getting closer and closer.
We took some pictures together that year, I'm pretty sure.
If we did.
Yeah. So
That was
one
the year
step
of the tag
closer.
shirt.
Still have the church camp boyfriend?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so I think that year was uneventful. I don't.
Yeah.
Other
nothing
than we
really
took
happened.
pictures together.
We were a lot closer.
Yeah.
But that was about it.
All right. Did we go to church camp when we were 17?
We did, and that is the year that I had kind of fallen into some sin, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Right?
that was it.
17? Yeah, so I actually came to camp with a girlfriend that year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I had been in a relationship.
Well, you didn't bring her to camp, but
Yeah, I didn't bring
she
her
was
with
in
me,
a
but I had a girlfriend
relationship.
at the time.
Yeah.
So that was different. And I still went to camp, which is crazy.
Yeah. And you were still going to church?
I had kind of stopped going. We had started going to a new church when I was 15.
Okay.
And so around that time, I had kind of stopped going as much, kind of drifting. And, you know, everybody was trying to like intervene and be there for me. My youth pastors, everybody that kind of caught on that some stuff was happening. But I think by that time, I really wasn't going anymore. But it was like, I think it was more of like the sentimental, I go to this camp every year.
Yes.
I only see these people once a year. I want to
Yes.
go. And so I still went. And so, you know.
And that year, my mom was her camp guide. So my mom was the cabin leader of Lauren's cabin that year.
Oh,
So
even
she
though you
met-
weren't at her church or anything, she was still just the cabin
She was
leader.
the cabin leader. So she met my mom that year. Actually, you met my mom.
I think
had
I
been
met her
coming,
before that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and then my dad started coming, and there was just kind of like a lot of things going on in our family. The church, we were going to the church camp every year. It was like refreshing for us because we were in leadership.
Yeah.
And so my parents met Lauren, and that year she and my mom got really close.
Yeah.
And the year that
So you come to church camp
happened.
and had a girlfriend back home. And did you know that that was wrong?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I've had already kind of reached the point. The first couple of months of the relationship were really like hard for me, trying to justify what I was doing. Like, oh, I can still be a Christian and do this. And I would even like bring her to church with me. And then it, you know, obviously we stopped going, and it's like the conviction just eventually left because I would ignore it.
Yeah.
And so deep down, I knew, you know, that it wasn't right.
And you were 17.
Yes.
Was she older than you?
Yes.
Okay.
I think like 3 years maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was already out of high school. But we had gone to high school together and worked together.
Okay.
So yeah, but I knew that it was wrong. And that whole week at camp, I was like really intentional about not going in deep, like in the worship services, stuff like that. I tried to make everything very surface level.
Yeah.
I'm just here to see my friends and act like everything's fine. But everybody knew already that, you know, because I had just kind of made it public about my relationship like a month prior.
Yeah.
So everybody knew about it, but it was kind of like unspoken between us. We never talked about it.
You and Beau didn't.
Yeah,
But
while
my
it was
family
happening.
knew, and my parents knew, and they had known Lauren at that time. So it was really interesting how when it all came out and I talked to them about it, it affected them deeply. And we knew Lauren kind of at the surface, But when we found out about what was going on, it affected my parents almost as if it was their own daughter.
Yeah.
And it was weird because we were just friends.
Yeah.
We were barely friends.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
So that year when Mom found out that she was going to be our cabin leader, my mom was like, everybody just pray with me that God would use me to speak to Lauren and to speak to all these girls. And so a lot happened that year. God moved a lot in Lauren and me. And that the last day, Lauren left. Her girlfriend came to pick her up. And they left. And all the girls from the cabin were like, you guys are so cute and all this stuff. My mom went back in the cabin and fell on the floor and just fell to her knees and started sobbing and weeping. And she was like, God, did you not use me at all? Did nothing happen? How can this be that you moved so much and something didn't change? And,
I even left camp that year and went to a gay pride festival that day. And I was really struggling with conviction after that whole week of, being in the presence of the Lord consistently.
Yeah.
But I still was just fighting it so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
intense.
throughout that next year, we kind of texted on and off as friends, and a few other people who had known us or known about Lauren and I being friends or whatever asked me, like, who's this girl that you have pictures with on Facebook or whatever? And I was like, she's a girl from camp. And they would be like, who is she? Do you like her? And I was like, yeah, but, she's a girlfriend now. So I just don't think anything's ever going to happen. At that point, I was like, okay, I'm done really liking her anymore. And a lot of people were like, well, you need to talk to her because we think, and I was like, you all are crazy. I don't even hardly know this girl.
Yeah.
They were like, you need to get with this girl. I'm like, how do you even know her? Like, you don't even know her or anything's going on. So that transitioned into our next year at camp when everything changed.
Yeah. Which it was before camp whenever let me back up. Can I back up?
Yeah, back up.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
that whole year was, I was just I just wasn't living right.
Yeah.
And so camp was in June. In January of the next year is when conviction started hitting me again really hard. Mm-hmm. I started having these crazy dreams about going to hell, about like tornadoes chasing me, being caught up in a fire.
Oh,
wow. It was insane. And I was dealing with it for like a month. And then around February, this is in 2015. So in February, I woke up one night from this awful dream, terrified, and I was like, Lord, I know that I'm not living right, and I can't deal with these dreams anymore. I'm going to figure it out. I was trying to do it on my own.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to figure it out. I just need some time, but I can't handle these dreams anymore. It's terrifying. I just need some rest from it. So I went to sleep that night, and I had a dream about Beau. And it was so crazy. In the dream, it was really simple. I went to his house, which I'd never been there because we lived so far. I went to his house, spent some time with his family, and that was that. Mm-hmm. And I woke up and was like, why did I have that dream?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Lauren did not like me at all at this point.
Yeah, I didn't have feelings for him.
And it was kind of like, I'm just out being honest, was that friend with everybody that like everybody wanted to be my friend, but nobody wanted to date me. I'm just honestly, I was like everybody's friend, but everybody's like, but I could never be with him. Yeah. Whatever, you know? And so whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, God, sure.
So you weren't dating anybody or hadn't dated anybody?
No, I didn't date.
He had one girlfriend
for
that
2
he
weeks.
brought to camp.
We were together for 2 weeks.
When we were young.
That was my freshman year. Okay.
When we were like 15.
Okay.
Yeah, that was when we were 15. We had been together through the summer. She came to camp with me, and then it was over.
Yeah.
It was very, gone.
Yeah, because
she was like my first love
at church camp.
Well, she was like my first love, though. Like, I really liked this girl, and I was like, we're going to be together forever. 8th grade went into freshman year, and then it didn't work out, and I was heartbroken, and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was whatever.
Yeah.
But,
hey, can I ask you a question, Lauren? How did this even get started for you with a girlfriend? This was not on your radar. Like, I'm kind of curious. Like, how does that happen?
Okay, so obviously, it was kind of blindsiding. It was crazy because, I had always had boyfriends. Like, I just loved boys growing up.
Yeah.
And I would have a boyfriend for like a month, and I just would get tired of them. They were too clingy, or they'd get on my nerves, and so I'd break up with them. And this happened over and over and over. Mm-hmm. And I had kind of struggled a little bit with some like homosexual tendencies, like thoughts. Mm-hmm. It was mostly just thoughts. In middle school, there were a few things. But then it was I don't even know how to put this. It's crazy because just a few months before I got in this relationship, I had written in my journal that, obviously these relationships I'm in are not working. I keep cutting them off after about a month, and they're just not who God has for me. So I just need to wait for the one, because when it's the one God has for me, the guy that God has for me, then it's just going to, it's going to work. And why shop if you're not going to buy? I'm obviously not going to get married right now because I'm so young.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it's like I made that, and I was saved at the time. I was like, I had really hit like a good place with the Lord, I felt like. Mm-hmm. And I was 17. And so after that, I don't know if I don't feel like I had maybe the spiritual foundation.
Yeah.
And he obviously knew that I had homosexual tendencies, from when I was younger.
Yeah, because he had probably been planting those seeds in you all along.
And because it was obviously from the enemy. And so he was like, well, let's see what we can do with this. And I worked with this girl, and I had known her before, and she was openly gay. Mm-hmm. And so one thing led to another, and I was just living in such deceit and it just immediately turned into this thing of like, well, this is actually what I want. This is why my relationships haven't worked out with boys.
Gotcha.
Because I don't actually like them, or, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was just the enemy completely. Yeah. And it just got away from me.
Did you have to hide it at all in the beginning?
I did.
You did?
Yeah. So I kept it a secret for about 6 months.
Okay.
My mom found out about it a couple months in, and she was very much like, she cried, but she was like, I just want you to be happy. And it was just a really hard thing. And everybody kind of suspected, but we didn't really talk about it.
Yeah.
And
that's why I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes.
That's why I want to know how the enemy does that. Like, how do people get into that? First of all, to any relationship, anything you have to hide, no matter who it's with, anybody, whether it is a parent, a grandparent, a cousin, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, anything that you have to hide is wrong.
Yes, completely.
If you cannot talk to somebody about it or tell anybody about it, there's something wrong with it.
Yeah. And what's so crazy is whenever people would find out, like when my mom found out, then my sister and a couple of my friends, I always wanted to justify I would always start it with, I love God, but I'm in this relationship, yada, yada, whatever I had to say about it. But I always started with that because I was convicted about it. I was in like inner turmoil, confused about everything. I just wasn't sure. And, I had read the scriptures. I had had encounters with God, deep encounters. And then, the enemy comes in and tries to turn things around and make you justify what you're doing. And
yes.
So it was just a really difficult time for me. And it just spiraled. It just kept going deeper.
So you get to this place where you start feeling conviction, and that was like January, February, you were saying.
Yes.
Where did it end?
So I kept having these dreams about Beau.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta
so
figure
more
this
than
out.
one dream.
Yes, it just kept happening. I was like, I gotta figure this out.
And she had slowly started texting me a little more.
Because I was like, maybe we're supposed to be friends.
Yeah. At the time, I wasn't dating anybody. I was like, I'm just not going to date through high school. I'm just going to focus on school and God, And obviously I was dealing with a lot of like hidden sin at the time. So it was like.
At the same time she was.
Yes.
Ah.
So I'm dealing with a lot of like hidden sin, a lot of pornography, homosexuality at the same time, and wasn't dating, and was like trying to love God with everything in me at the same time, having inner chaos. And so this has been about 3 years. Really, honestly, it was all about the same time for both of us. For me, it was more hidden than it was for Lauren.
Okay, so you were not public or anything.
No, it was a lot of like
just thoughts,
tendencies, mindset. It was just almost impossible for me to go on every day.
Did your parents or anybody know that you were struggling with that?
No, they didn't know. Which I was. I loved God.
Yeah,
I really did, and I was fully in love with God. But it was just, I was just being hit so hard by some things that I was like, who even am I inside, And I think, honestly, that's part of the reason why God didn't allow me to have girlfriends in high school, because it probably would have honestly just confused me and confused everything. Mm-hmm. And at one point, even the only time that my family ever started to question was about my senior year of high school, when they were like, why have you not had a girlfriend all through high school? And they were concerned. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if my mom was as much as my dad, but I definitely think that God used it all, because when Lauren and I finally did get together, it was like we were both together. It was like we were with somebody for the first time, after literally both of us, which we'll get to. But it was like when we got together, we were starting from ground zero, or area one, whatever. Yeah. And it was like, we can only go up from here. Thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, after, all the dreams and stuff like that, I fast forward to May. I just decided it was senior skip day at my school. I'm going to drive to Beau's house.
Your girlfriend was out of town.
She was visiting family in Mexico.
Oh.
So I'm like, I've told his sisters I'm going to come visit. And I texted his mom and was like, can I come to your house?
4 hours away.
Yeah.
And this is what's really strange, is every time that Lauren's name would come up or something would happen, or we would be talking about her or see a picture, literally, you would not believe the times that my mom was like, we need to pray for her. And mom would just think about her and just start praying. Or she would think about her and just start crying. Or we would all think about her and all of us would pray. Or people that knew her or knew what was going on, or people at our church, everybody would just, it was like everybody felt so like she was part of our family.
Yeah.
That it was like, we all just have to pray for Lauren.
Yeah, it's because God ordained for her to be in your family.
Exactly, yeah. It was
part of y'all's lives.
It was so crazy.
And his mom and dad felt that.
Yes, and they were already feeling towards you, in a way, what was going to be, as you were going to be their daughter.
Yeah. So Lauren texted my mom that May and was like, hey, I want to come visit you. And mom was like, okay. And she told dad, and dad was like, yes, absolutely. Mom was like, are you sure? Mom was going to say no. Mom was like, I don't want her to come, because I don't want that. I don't want what's going on with her and around my kids.
Because we never talked about it.
Yeah.
About my relationship. I knew that they knew, but we never really talked about it. It was kind of just unspoken and like a really awkward thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my dad was like, I don't care what's going on or what she's going through. You tell her she can come, because this could change everything.
Yeah. And I had so much respect for his family.
Yeah.
That's also why it was awkward for me, because I knew that they didn't agree with it.
Yeah.
I knew deep down it wasn't right. And I respected them so much and looked up to them. And so that's kind of why it was just unspoken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So you drive over.
Yeah, I show up and I surprised him. He didn't know I was coming.
No clue. I was on my way to.
Your parents didn't tell you?
I was on my way.
I wanted it to be a surprise, and so they didn't tell him. I don't know what I was thinking.
I was about to do
but it was great.
I was signing up for selective service that day. You have to do that when you're 18.
Yep.
So I'm on my way to do that, and mom says, "I don't care where you at. Just turn around and come home right now." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "But I'm literally almost to the post office." She was like, I don't care. Turn around. Okay. I was honestly really frustrated, because I was like, why? So I get all the way back home. Didn't even notice her car there. I walk in.
Well, his parents own a heating and cooling business, so they always have vehicles there anyway. So he just didn't think
so
about
I walk in the house, and she's standing there, and she just goes, just like,
I also had the side of my head shaved.
Yeah,
then.
she was. Lauren was so cool. I mean, I'm like, side of her hair
was
shaved,
like black at the
and
time.
it was like when like ombre was really starting to become a thing. So like one half of her head's like ombre, like black and white or blonde on the end. Half of her head shaved. She's got this hat on, all these tattoos, and I was like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" I was like, "Why is she here?"
We were 18 then. Yeah.
I was like,
it was all over his face too.
So
it took him a while.
Well, I was like, what? Because there were 2 other girls at the time that I was kind of interested in. You know, and so I wasn't even thinking about
so
Lauren anymore.
awkward for me.
I mean, it really was.
I wasn't even thinking like, oh, I wonder if he likes anybody. I wonder like what he does with his life. It was kind of all about me.
So you were thinking of driving there because you thought, well, maybe this guy that likes me, I don't know.
Well,
what were you thinking?
I was thinking, I'm having all these dreams. I'm really confused. I thought that I didn't even like boys anymore. And I wanted to go and see if I felt anything.
I gotcha.
Kind of selfishly.
Did you feel something for him? Even if he's kind of like, I'm not so sure about this guy now.
When I went that weekend, I did.
Yeah.
I was like, and it confused me even more.
Yeah.
I was like, what in the world is going on in my brain, in my heart? I was just really confused.
Yeah. When did the shift happen? When did we... So you liked him. You had to break up with
a month later, camp came around again.
Yes, church camp.
Back to camp.
That's right. We're back to church camp.
So
church camp.
This year they had asked our church worship team to do the worship at camp. So
he and his mom were leading worship.
Me and my mom were leading that year.
Okay.
And I had no
Not
clue.
playing the drums.
No, I was playing keyboard and leading at this point. And I had no clue. So this is where everything changed for real. So 2 weeks before it was like a week before we got there. My mom, me and her sitting down on the couch. It was like 12 o'clock. We were so tired. And she was like, "Beau, I need to talk to you." I'm like, "Okay." And she was like, "So, we're going to camp and we're leading worship." She was like, "And I am going to have to share my testimony." And my mom had never shared her testimony. She was in her 30s. And she is like, "I've never shared my testimony with anybody, except for like a handful of people." So she shares her testimony with me for the first time, crying, and she was like, "I had a major struggle with homosexuality all through high school."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And she was like, and even, there were just even times later in her life where the enemy would just hit her hard, and God changed everything for her. He came in and took over, and she had me and my 2 sisters, and she was married, and God shaped our whole family. And she tells me this for the first time, and she's like, "And I know that I've got to share it this year." And so forgive me if I cry a little bit.
No, you're fine.
She's like,
ahead.
"I might have to, I think I'm going to share it." And I was like, "Okay." So I'm literally writing it down because I was ready to talk to Lauren for the first time ever. I was like, "We have to talk. She's already come to our house, all this stuff. There's obviously something going on. I have to tell her about me. I have to tell her about my mom. I have to do all these things." So we get to camp. We set up the worship thing. We set up all the instruments. It's like the Sunday. Camp starts the next Monday or that following day. And Mom comes to me and she's like, "I'm going to share my testimony." And I was like, "Don't do it. Do not share your testimony. Don't do it. Lauren's just going to get offended." I mean, honestly, everybody was praying for Lauren.
Yeah.
We were believing
and the year
for
before,
breakthrough.
People had kind of called that out, that struggle, that spirit
Someone
out,
had called it out.
homosexuality. And I was like unfazed by it because I was like, they don't struggle with it. So who are they to call it out? That's kind of what my mindset was.
Yeah.
So even though it was brought up, I just ignored it.
Yeah.
So he and his mom and I were already so close that it definitely would have hit me harder if she were the one to share it.
Yeah.
So we came that year, and the first night comes and goes. It was amazing. I mean, it was like Holy Ghost. People are getting set free, saved, delivered. I mean, it was amazing. And Mom didn't share her testimony, and I was honestly kind of relieved.
Yeah.
And the next day, Mom was like, she didn't really tell me about it or anything. She's just kind of letting me know, like, I don't know what's going to happen. And then service comes that night, and it just, I don't know, I don't remember at what point it was, but the music kind of came down, and she was like, I've got to share something with everybody. And I'm like pale as a ghost. I'm like, God, if you don't move, then I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm just like praying that she wouldn't leave, that Lauren wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
And you go from there.
So what's crazy is before camp, I had already decided I am ending this relationship. I want to change, but we had a road trip planned for the week after camp.
Oh.
And I was just had this feeling of like, I don't want to, we've planned this for so long. I hate hurting people. I'll do it after the trip. So I was like, during camp, I'm going to receive, but I'm going to hold off a little bit so I can have one more week of my life.
Yeah.
And then get it together after. So, and I had also struggled with thoughts of like suicide, of if I can't figure this out, if I can't end this, I don't want to hurt anybody, that I just don't need to be here. Those kind of thoughts. And I hadn't shared that with anybody. And so the second night comes and his mom gets up there and shares her testimony.
And this was like a now or never moment for me, for my mom, for Lauren especially. It was like, it's now or never.
Yeah.
It had just come to that point in the road where it's like either God moves now or
it's like a Red Sea moment.
Yeah.
You're standing there, the Egyptians are chasing you.
Yes,
we
exactly.
got to cross.
And like it was at that point that it was like, if God didn't do something, then Lauren and I, we probably would have never seen each other again. I didn't know if she would have ever came back to the camp.
Yeah.
She would have been old enough to where she couldn't come anymore unless she worked.
Yeah.
And
they're not going to let you work if you're not living, right?
Right.
And then we would have never seen each other again. Mom would have never shared her testimony again. Lauren would have never. I mean, this is
now
it.
or never.
Yeah.
And she shared it. And I remember this girl was standing in front of me talking to me. And I literally pushed her out of the way.
So you could hear.
Yes. I was like, I can't listen to you right now. And she shares this and I am sobbing. Because God knew what it would take, who it would take.
That who's
to
important.
hit me.
Yeah.
And so she, shares about her deliverance and how she was set free and she has this family and I'm sobbing. And then they give the call, and there were lots of girls actually that answered the altar call, which was
we were astonished.
Crazy.
At how many people.
But, I wasn't even worried about that. I literally ran to the altar.
And everybody was weeping.
Yeah.
It was like the whole room, a wave, a shock shot across the room, and there was no message that night.
And Beau was singing How He Loves. He was leading it. He's my husband now. That makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
It was so much. And while my mom's sharing her testimony, this is what's really crazy. She's sharing her testimony, and she gets to the part where she's like, and God not only set me free, but he gave me a husband. He gave me a family. He gave me 3 kids. Her wedding band gets so hot on her finger that she had to take it off, and it had burnt her hand all the way around.
Her talking about
her marriage and how God came in and did that. Literally, her whole finger turned black. It had like burnt her skin. And
yeah,
so I'm speechless.
Yeah.
And just in this moment.
Did you see Lauren answer the altar call?
Yeah. Well, it was a smaller stage area. Okay. So I saw everybody and I saw Lauren and I'm weeping and I'm singing as hard as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it was
everybody is crying.
Moment.
The whole room. I mean, a couple hundred kids in there.
Yeah.
Just sobbing.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember.
Yeah. It was a very, very intense deliverance for me. I had to be taken outside. And what's crazy is his dad actually went outside with me and a few other people that were praying for me. And after, I had that breakthrough, his dad just hugged me and we cried.
Yeah.
And it was so crazy. And after that, Beau actually waited for me because the service ended. They dismissed everyone and I was still outside. And then I came back in and he had waited for me, and I sat down and was like, we need to talk about some things because we had never talked about it before.
Yeah.
And honestly, at this time, I still did not have feelings for Lauren.
Yeah.
I was like, I was just kind of done with it. And I was like, I'm so happy that you've been set free. But I just think we need to be friends.
Yeah.
You know?
When did he know about the dreams yet?
No.
No. Okay. So you didn't know she'd been having dreams.
No.
All right.
He had no clue.
So y'all talked that night, put some stuff on the table?
A little bit.
Kind of.
Yeah. Kind of about the lifestyle I'd been living, the deliverance, and then what needed to happen next. You know, I ended the relationship.
Did not go on your road trip?
Well,
She
I
did.
actually ended up going. I caved. And I went because I was still struggling with inner turmoil. But we like broke up officially again on the trip.
Okay.
And it was really weird. And just the whole trip was strange. And then after that, it was a few months of...
Well, no, that next month in July, you came to visit me.
Yeah.
And we went on a date.
Our first date.
Oh.
And it was weird.
He was not feeling it. Yeah, we went to the
went
movies.
to the movies and like
Wait, what movie? Maybe
Paper
what's the movie?
Towns.
Paper Towns.
You know,
Paper Towns.
very nostalgic and love movie and all this beautiful thing.
Okay,
and
you
Lauren
still
like
weren't
tried.
feeling it.
Yeah, Lauren
We
tried
held
to hold my
hands.
hands. Yeah, we held hands for a few minutes. I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. Go to the bathroom. I splashed myself with cold water, and I'm like, you can get through this. You can do it.
He came back and literally sat like
On the other,
he
side
sat
of the
away
chair.
from me.
Away from you where you couldn't
Yeah.
get to his hand. Oh
was
my
so
goodness, Beau.
I know I was probably
Ouch.
so rude. I'm so sorry. honey.
I forgive
You're
you.
beautiful. I love you.
Thank you. We got back to his house that night, and
That's when we laid all the cards on the table.
well, he had told me once before, anytime he tried to start a relationship and it wasn't right, he would get really sick to his stomach. And that night, I was like, I'm hungry. And
So I made her something
he's
to
like,
eat.
okay, you made me something to eat. And I said, are you not going to eat? He said, no, my stomach hurts.
Oh,
And I was like,
you knew.
I went upstairs and started to cry a little because I was a little embarrassed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, since he lived so far, it wasn't just like we meet up for a date.
Right.
I went for a
Yeah.
couple
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Lauren definitely pursued me. I did not.
That's not what
Pursue
you're
her.
supposed to do. The man is supposed to pursue the woman.
Yeah.
But
I did not pursue her at all.
When did that change? When did that shift? When did Beau you finally go? Because Lauren is beautiful. Thank you.
Right?
And she
And I used to be a lot slimmer.
amazing. And she can sing.
Yeah.
She is an incredible artist.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't understand where the problem was, Beau.
Well, at this point, like I said, I was still going through a lot of stuff inside.
Inside of you.
And so
And so maybe
still-
it was God's goodness.
still to this day, I
you
think
know.
it was God that was
Yeah.
like, no. So that, I think it was March of that year. So before Lauren came to visit anything, a friend of ours who lived in Ohio texted me and she was like, hey, she was involved with YWAM. She'd been involved for years. She was like, hey, we're doing our first DTS. It's 6 months. We are going to Haiti this year. And I really feel like you will be great for our school. It's so much money. Do you want to come to a DTS? It starts in September.
What is a DTS?
So it's a discipleship training school.
Okay,
with
discipleship
YWAM.
training
It's
school.
like the entryway. Like you do a DTS, and then you're kind of a part of
And then you can
YWAM,
go
and you
Be a part of the mission.
Yeah,
Okay.
so kind of like that. And so I was like, absolutely. I was like, I'm doing it. I'm doing the school. I'll pay the money. And so Lauren knew, we all knew. I was like, this September, I'm going to YWAM. And I won't be back till like January. So,
I went and saw him one more time before he left for YWAM because even though
Because you didn't get to go to church camp that
Oh, not
summer
so
because you were
much.
19.
yeah.
because even though we had laid the law down that he wasn't feeling it, he was
Yeah.
like, I still want you to come visit. I don't know if he really meant
Which
that, but
it was more like
I did.
I was afraid to hurt somebody. So it was more like, maybe it's just not the right time. I never gave people
gave
a
me
clear
hope.
answer and gave people hope when I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
And so luckily you held on to the hope. But that September, after all of it was laid out, everything was out on the table. I go to YWAM a month after being there. We're like giving up our rights, giving up everything. God, if I die, I die, but whatever I have to do to get the gospel out kind of deal. And I texted Lauren a few days before her birthday. Didn't even know. And I was like, hey.
2 days before my birthday.
Like, I know that you still really like me, that we've kind of had some chats, but I don't think it's ever going to work out. You know, I think we're great friends, but I don't think we're ever going to be anything. And I'm sorry. I still really love you, and I hope we can be close. But, yeah, this is it. I was done.
Because you were going to go die for the gospel somewhere.
Yeah, I was like, I'm done.
Single missionary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, and I literally always wanted a family.
I bet you did.
Yeah. I'd always wanted a family and always wanted kids and all the thing. But it was to that point in the school where I was like, God, I give you my rights to family. I give you my rights to have a wife. I don't care. And I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
But I felt God saying you need to give it up.
Yeah.
And so I was like, God, if I'm single for the rest of my life, then I'll be single. But whatever it takes to get the gospel out there. And at this point, I had been like fully surrendered. I was done with everything. I cut everyone off in my life. I cut my family off. I cut Lauren off.
Oh, wow.
I cut almost my inner self off. I even like was cutting off all of the people that were in the school with me. I was like, I have to be alone with the Holy Spirit. I only talk to people like quickly, like, hey, bye. I'm good. Are you good? Cool. Bye. You know, I was like, it's just me and the Holy Spirit. And so, I told Lauren it was it, and it was over. We were done, and we didn't talk anymore for a few months.
Well, for a month.
Or for a month, yeah.
Which I'm also really grateful for that time, because I feel like I was kind of leaning on him for my full deliverance.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
Yeah, because I was still trying to be friends with this girl.
Yeah.
And because, you know, we were best friends for a couple years. And so I feel like I was trying to jump into the next thing, like this is going to fix everything.
Yeah.
And so when he cut it off, it forced me to give everything to God. Like, you know, I had the salvation, the healing, the deliverance moment, but it wasn't instant for me. I had to walk it out.
Yeah.
And so when he did that, I had to just give everything to God and be like, it was literally just me and God in that moment.
So you and God in that moment, and then Beau over at YWAM, him and God in that moment.
Well, I told her it was over with. Lauren, she told me, she was like, she cried like her eyes out. She cleaned her whole room and she just worshiped. She just got down and just worshiped. And you sang We Dance by Stephanie Gregg Singer.
I posted a video, like a couple snippets of me singing that in my room. Do you know that song? Yeah,
I love it.
So hold on to that.
I posted a snippet of it because I just worshipped to find comfort, you know.
And within that next month, from October to the end of November, month and a half, got so close with the Holy Spirit that it was like I'm laying in bed trying to go to sleep and I'm just crying and I'm like, I know I have nobody. I literally was talking to nobody, but like, I know I have the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
I know I have the Holy Spirit. And after that moment, it was like, after I literally had nothing, all I could think about was Lauren. So it wasn't until I gave it all up that it was like every day I'm thinking about her kind of deal. Like it led up to nothing. And then why can I not stop thinking about Lauren? I'm like tearing my brain out, like why I don't want to think about her anymore. I gave her up.
Yeah.
I like her. And literally that goes on for, I want it's almost a month of me just being like, I'm close to the Holy Spirit, but I can't stop thinking about Lauren.
Yeah.
And so.
Because the Holy Spirit was trying to say something to you, Beau.
About me.
About you. Yeah. Because you were not forgotten.
Yeah.
When did we just kind of fess up then, Beau? When did you just
It
go,
was Thanksgiving
hey?
week.
Thanksgiving week, we came down from my school to visit my hometown because it's like one of the poorest regions in the United States. So a lot of people come to that area for mission trips kind of deal. So we came down. We're going to minister to the area. We're going to be going to some churches, doing some outreaches, and we're going to stay a week. We're going to spend Thanksgiving with my family. And the whole DTS came. We're going to spend Thanksgiving with my family, and we're going to go back. So I told Mom we were coming down. Did I tell you? You
told me.
I told Lauren because she just wanted to know if I was going to be back. And she actually went and visited my family
while he was in
I was in YWAM.
Yeah, of course.
Because they had all just become close. And
Painted
they left her.
And carved pumpkins with his mom.
Yeah.
And so they're your family.
Then a month later, this is right after I told her we weren't going to be anything either.
Yeah.
She goes, and I'm like, that's so weird.
Yeah, so my mom and I drove to his hometown too. My mom had never met them, and she went with me
whenever
to their
I
house.
came back for Thanksgiving. So it's like the Monday before, the Saturday.
Something.
Friday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And we drive down. We get there kind of late. Lauren doesn't get there till like 2 a.m, but I stayed up and waited for her just because I wanted to be kind.
Yeah.
And when she got there, it was like
he came outside and met me and my mom at the car.
But on the way driving there, she was driving in the car and she just kind of, go ahead, you say that. Or you kind of had like this idea, like what if he...
Yeah, well, I had this feeling like, what if we see each other and everything changes, like it finally just clicks. I started to get kind of nervous about seeing him again. I was set like, okay, we're friends. He wants to be friends and that's great. I still really love this family.
And we were close at this point now.
Yeah.
Texting a lot.
Yeah.
Even though we didn't like each other anymore.
We'd even FaceTimed a couple times while he was in YWAM. And I was like, what if everything changes?
Yeah.
She was like, what if he runs out to meet me and gives me a hug?
Yeah, I forgot that I said
and
that.
then she pulls up. And something came over me, and I
He
run
ran.
out to meet her and give her a hug. And I'm like,
why am I
and
running?
Lauren's like, what is he doing? This is great.
But
we're like,
I don't know about for you, but for me, it was like it finally just like clicked.
It for me too.
It clicked.
I was like, this is
2:00 in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving week.
and here's her mom. She's like, hi, my name's Mandy. She's so happy. And I'm like, hey. But it's like something was just different.
We didn't talk about it. We were there for a few days. I think we left like Monday morning.
Yeah,
maybe.
you left Monday morning.
And we didn't talk about feelings that week, but we were very close.
You knew something was different.
Yeah.
Something
like we
was
sat closer.
Yeah.
Our hands were like right next
Touching.
to each other.
I'm like
shoulders
playing with
kinda
Lauren's
touch.
hair.
Oh,
And
yeah.
my leader.
Oh, yes.
My
Things changed.
Our leader, she saw me and she confronted me about it. So Jennifer, if you're listening,
sorry.
I, to this day, am so thankful for her in our ministry.
Too. I adore her.
She came to me and she was like, "Hey, I understand if you like this girl or something's going on, but you do not sit with a woman or play with a woman's hair or do something like that unless that is your wife." And you do not need to be
your
or
wife.
engaged to be your wife, and you do not need to be this close with her. And at the time, I was like, whatever. I was so ready to be with Lauren. Sorry, I was so ready to be with Lauren at this point that I was like, I can't be away from her. And she was like, you need to stop.
Yeah.
Like you have given your life to God. Like everything is God's now. You need to give up your rights to this. And I was like, okay.
Yes.
So.
Yay, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer.
That is, so much wisdom in that. I want to shout that to all the people in the back.
I wish she could be here. She's amazing. Anyway.
But yes, you do not act that intimate and that close
Yes.
with people.
And
yes.
really,
yay for youth leaders.
It really,
that can
well,
say
she's
that.
our YWAM leader.
Oh, your YWAM leader.
So she was the leader of the DTS.
Yay.
Yeah. So Lauren goes back home that Monday, and we're just kind of texting on and off. And
I was literally asking God for signs that whole week, like, okay, something clicked.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to be together? What is this? And he would give me a word of, a scripture or something. And I would still be like, okay, I need one more word. And then like this prophet came to our church and, I was begging for a word about this relationship. Even though I wanted a word for my life, I still was like, I need something about this specific. And he called me out too. And we didn't know each other that well. He had come to my church a lot, but we didn't know each other very well at the time. Now we're a little more acquainted, but the prophet, sorry. And so he, called me out and gave me a word. And the very beginning of the word was, you have a dream, a wish, that I can't remember all of it specifically. You have a dream, a wish that feels far away, but it's really closer than your skin. And then the rest of the word had nothing to do with that. It was completely different. So I took that little snippet as that's what I needed to hear. And then it was
because you had been having dreams.
Yes.
Of him. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, that's it. That's what I needed. And the rest of the word was amazing too. But that had to do with I felt like it had to do with the relationship.
Yeah.
So then it was like Thanksgiving Day or Black Friday.
Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
We had finished Thanksgiving meal. My best friend, who ended up being my best man, he was like, hey, I'm going to Walmart to get something. Do you want to go with me? And I was like, sure. My phone was on 1%. Lauren and I had been texting, and he was asking me about it. He's like, what's going on with you and Lauren kind of deal? And Lauren texted me, and she texted me and said, I miss you already. Or I miss you or something like that. And
I miss you already,
she was saying that, but she accidentally put, I kiss you already. It was total accident.
It was so awkward.
I know, it's so weird. And
I kiss you instead of I miss you already.
And so I just sent back a winky face. And then Lauren just said, we need to talk. And I was like, my phone's dying. My phone dies immediately. And so the next day.
He texted me and said, I'll talk to you tomorrow. My phone's dying.
Yeah. And so literally 1%, my phone dies. And I tell Jordan, and he's like, we're like, And so the whole night, the next day, we hadn't talked at all. And we're both, I know you were, because I was like sick to my stomach, nervous, excited the whole next day. And so Lauren, this is on Friday. Lauren is like, can we talk to each other now? I was like, sure. So I called her, and I'm in my parents' bedroom. Everybody else is out, living their best YWAM life and talking to my parents and eating leftover turkey. And Lauren and I are in here having this emotional conversation.
And he told me he loved me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was not like I like you or whatever. It was
he was like, I'm in love with you.
I love you. And it was immediate.
Yay.
It was immediate.
Well, if you needed a word.
Overwhelming.
Thank you, God.
And I told my leaders that week, everything kind of changed for me at that point. I told them, I was like, I don't think I want to go on this mission trip. I feel like God needs me to come back home right now. I feel like there wasn't a moment to waste.
He was already feeling that way too. So it wasn't just because of me. It wasn't for the girl entirely.
I had been, there for.
Lay it all down for the gospel. Lay it all down for the girl.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But I mean, I was like, I feel like I need to go back home. Yeah. I feel like God is doing something. And sure enough, I get back home. Our relationship picks up.
Yeah, but you're living 4 hours away.
Well, we made it a point to visit each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I also started cosmetology school right after that. And I was working 2 jobs.
Oh,
but
wow.
We found the time to either meet halfway and go on dates, or he would come and visit me for a weekend, or I would go and visit him for a weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Dave and I did that long distance.
Yeah. We tried to see each other at least twice a month, but sometimes it was a little bit more, like 3 or 4 times.
It was all so God, because had we been close to each other, it was like we were both so nervous. Like I said towards the beginning, we started this relationship like it was brand new for both of us, because we had both been through so much that had we not had the distance between each other, we would have never truly appreciated being with each other, truly appreciated that God put us together, because we're both the type of people that we just would get annoyed really easy at that time. I'm just being honest, very blunt. And so because we had a lot of time apart in such a short time together, it was like we were able to pray a lot when we were apart, and we were able to be together a lot when we were together.
So there was an acceleration of sorts.
And it was like God worked it out so well.
Yeah. So I feel like at Thanksgiving, you guys knew. There was just that knowing, this is it. This is the one.
Yeah. And that February, I went to see her for Valentine's Day, and I knew we're going to be married. I was working a job, and I told my boss, I was like, I think I'm going to marry this girl. We'd only been together about 3 months. So I think we're going to get married. And I quit my job. I went and saw her for Thanksgiving. I went Valentine's Day. I went back a few weeks later and put a down payment on an engagement ring in March. And then that year at church camp, we were working
We
that
went
year.
to church camp.
Yeah, we went to camp to work.
We went to camp. This was a year.
Everything comes full circle.
Yeah. This is a year after the deliverance.
I didn't know.
After everything, we go back to church camp and we got engaged.
He
proposed
at church
camp.
Yeah, he did. It was the second night of camp once again. And he proposed.
So
and that is a crazy story
night.
on its own.
Yeah. And then it just picked up. I mean, we were like so in love, so ready to be married. God had done so much. We were ready. We got engaged. 5 months later, the 1 year anniversary of us being together, we got married at church camp.
On our 1 year.
You got married at church camp.
Okay, listen, I literally was
love church camp.
I do not want to get married here. Okay. Everything's happened here. We have to get married somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it just worked out to be not that far from his family. And it was really close to mine.
Yep.
It was like a common ground. We kind of worked it out to be able to get a discount.
Yeah.
This is so great.
It was.
So we got married at
So
camp.
I guess the church camp boyfriend wasn't there.
Yeah.
He got the boot.
Yeah.
He
was in ministry school
You
in
got
Florida
a church camp
at the
husband.
time.
I did.
Yeah.
A whole different person.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So.
Wow. What a story.
And our first dance was
We Danced.
to
by Stephanie
the
Gray.
Stephanie song that
Yeah.
you used to sing.
Yeah.
I sang it when he broke my heart.
And God restored.
And I didn't even think about that whenever we chose that song at first. I didn't think about it. And I was
No,
like,
God did.
that is the song I sang when you broke me. That forced me to be closer to the Lord.
And yes, and God was using that
Yeah.
to bring
Yes.
healing to you guys.
Yeah.
Wow. So a lot has happened to you
Yes.
guys in 10 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. This is a
Yeah.
lot of life. And I know there's stuff we didn't even talk about
Yeah.
that we would just have to save for a whole nother day.
Yeah.
But that's a lot.
It
Yeah.
is.
How are you now? Like when you look back at who you were even 5 years ago, what do you think about that person? Like how different are you? You are so different.
I mean, 5 years ago was 2015. That's when we started dating. So 5 years ago
The year I
this
was
month,
delivered, set free.
5 years ago
saved.
this month, Lauren had just had that dream about me.
Yeah. And here you are now married
Yes.
with a adorable baby.
Yeah.
You are serving God. You've been to ministry school.
Yes.
You travel. You guys sing in ministry. Like your life is completely different. Like this is what it looks like when you just say yes to God,
Yes.
whatever that looks like. What does life look for you now? Like in your marriage, what do you feel like your marriage and who you are is meant to do in the earth? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm being completely honest, within the last, 9 months since the baby was born, everything has completely shifted for us.
Changed.
Yeah.
You know.
We were ready to go into full-time ministry. We were ready to go wherever, do whatever. And right before the baby came, I was listening to a podcast by Jonathan David and Melissa Helser that talked about doing ministry like Jesus. And they were asking God, like, how do we do this? How do we do this? And God was like, or Jesus said to them, do it how I did it. They were like, but you waited 30 years. He was like, yeah, and isn't it great? Isn't it great that I waited all that time and just he lived his life? You know, he had family and he had friends and he probably ate amazing food and drank amazing wine. And I told Lauren, I was like, I don't care if we do ministry for 30 more years. You know, right before the baby was born, I was like, I don't care. I just want to love you and love the baby. And we kind of got to this place even a few weeks ago where we really hit that moment. Like it really is all about God.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been very recent for us. Within the last month or 2 months, it was like this really has been all about God this whole time. And we don't care what God has us do or where he has us go, but who we are today is whatever it takes to hasten the return of Jesus, then that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
If that means staying here and not doing anything and just serving, that's what we'll do. If that means going to another country and living, that's what we'll do. If that means moving to Florida or back to Kentucky or to wherever and just being there, then that's what we'll do if you'll make him come faster.
Yeah. Because Jesus wasn't just waiting around and just, hanging out. He was doing what God had called him to do, what the Father had put him there to do. He was living with his family and doing life, and he was still Jesus, even if it wasn't publicly people knowing he was the Messiah. Do you know what I mean? But he was still Jesus.
And he was enjoying everything that God created.
Exactly. And so even us and who we are and doing everyday things, we're still living like Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
In taking care. I think of ministry. This is kind of one of my soapboxes about breaking the box of ministry, redefining it, because people want to think it is a public platform type ministry, being on social media and preaching the gospel, and that's full-time ministry. But we are all in the ministry.
Yes.
Because we are, as long as we are in that place where God has called us to be, and if you are called to be a mother and be home with your child right now, Lauren, you are in ministry. You have the ministry of motherhood, and you are a minister to your husband, by being his wife. And this is how we live our life, and not think we need to attain to something when really it's like God's asking us to just live today and be present today and bring the kingdom of God where we are, whether that's like you do photography, Beau, and like that's the kingdom of bringing the kingdom of God. That's bringing heaven to earth. Like the way you can capture, the beauty of people and God and creation and all of these things. It just speaks of the glory of God and how us just doing what God has put in front of us to do is ministry.
Yeah.
Unto the Lord. Home. We're big, huge home and family people. We're big community people. Like we feel like this is where change happens. And Lauren, I even think of your story about Beau's mom. Really what brought about, I believe, when you said it mattered who said that story. Because you were so connected to his mom already. And to hear her say that is what brought freedom and deliverance to you.
Yeah.
And it was because of the relationship you had with her. And so think of the people that we have relationship with, how we could, not even knowing, really tell our story, and we bring healing and freedom to people everywhere around us.
Yes, that's so true.
Isn't that powerful? What else have you learned about God lately?
Oh my gosh.
Well,
I think.
Yeah, you can go. Sorry.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I think one thing that has really, that we've kind of taken a step back and looked at is that God, it just goes right back to giving our rights up, giving up everything. We have just learned lately that the more that we give up, the more that we tell God, this is yours, this belongs to you, the more that we see that God, I can't put it into words, the more that we see that God, he gives to us, as far as like has given us peace in our marriage, in our home, more than ever. Just the last little bit, because we've just been like, God, we can't hold on to anything anymore. We have to give everything to you.
What are you giving to him? When you say, for people listening that don't understand what that means, what do you say you give everything to God?
Well, literally everything. A few nights ago, just an example, Lauren was having some anxiety about some things. And I was like, why don't you just pray for a second? And she said, okay. So she prays out loud, God, thank you for who you are. Thank you that you've given us this house to live in. Thank you that you've given us these couches that they were new that we have. And thank you for our food in our fridge, and for our baby, and for our marriage, and that you love us so much, and that you never leave us or forsake us. And she kind of gets to the end, and I was like, okay, now give all of that back to God. And she's like, and God, I give you this couch that we love, and I give you our home that we love, and I give up our daughter, she's yours. I give up our marriage, this belongs to you. We own nothing. Nothing is ours. And if we had none of this, if we didn't have our house or our food or anything, as long as we have you, Holy Spirit, then we are more than content.
Yeah.
You know, we give up our rights to freedom. We give up our rights to, we give up our rights to eat every day. We give up our rights to have music or to sing or to anything. And it's like, God, if we can't do any of this and we just have you, Holy Spirit, then that is more than enough.
Yeah. And I even prayed too, like, I know Stacey Reeser has said this several times, praying like, I want to, like, I want to do this. And so I'm praying like, God, even if we don't have all these things, if I had to give this all back, if we never had it, I want to be comfortable. You know, I want to be at peace with just you. Help me to be at peace with just you. If it was just me and you and our daughter was sent off to wherever when she grows up, wherever in the world that you send her to, give me peace to be okay if it's just you and me.
Yeah.
So I feel like that, you know, that's what we mean, like giving up your rights to all of it.
Quite literally everything. It's like, God, if Jesus gave up his life, ultimately he gave up his life, then who are we to not give up our lives? You know, we give everything to you because Jesus did. And if we're going to be like Jesus, then we can't hold on to anything else. We have to just have you, and that's it.
Yeah. Wow, y'all are praying some audacious prayers.
Yeah, pray for us.
Yeah.
Just the past couple of weeks, it's hit us so hard in like just a new way.
So I would ask what's next, but we don't really know. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost different. We almost moved to Florida this week.
Did you really?
We almost took a job opportunity. We would have been in Florida right now visiting for this job that we almost were like, okay, we're going. And God told us to wait. So we're here.
Yeah.
Wow.
So our what's next is a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you pray prayers like that, like, you better be expecting something big about to happen. God is about to just take you up on that, and you just never know what he's going to do. Like,
Yes.
I don't even know. I have a lot of thoughts in my brain right now.
I do too.
I'm like, oh, God.
We definitely
We'll be back after the break.
We definitely feel something is shifting and coming in our life, in our marriage, our relationship, in our family.
Yeah.
But we're still digging in to find out what it is.
Yeah. And you are saying yes to it, no matter what it looks like. And because you've asked for peace for it, he's going to give you the peace no matter what it looks like.
Yes.
So that I can't wait to see what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Oh my. We might have to do a follow-up podcast.
I know that was so much.
Where
And
are
we
they
didn't
now?
even break the surface.
We didn't even
yeah.
tap into anything. We're definitely going to have to do a follow-up. Thanks for sharing all. I love that. Church camp.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Church camp.
Church camp.
That's where it's at.
You need to go to church camp.
If you've been searching for that person
Church camp.
and you can't find them, church camp. I don't care how old you are. Go be a counselor. You never know.
What better way to find the one?
Yeah, church camp. This ad brought to you. This podcast today is sponsored
Sponsored by Camden Kyle, Elizabethtown, Kentucky.
by Church Camp. Well, friends, church camp. Who knew? What a story. I'm excited to see what's in store for this young family as they say yes to God, whatever that looks like, sounds like, or wherever it will be. Friends, so glad you joined us today. Just a reminder that if you subscribe to the podcast on whichever app you use, you'll get a notification and be the first to know when the conversation gets started. If you'd rather watch your podcasts and not just listen, we've got a YouTube channel you can subscribe to as well. Just search What's Next God Podcast and click subscribe. We've also got a Facebook page with the same name, or you can find me on Instagram or Facebook under the name Melissa Matheson. That's math like 4 + 1 = 5, I before E, son, S-O-N. Friends, I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll be back here on Monday if you want to come join us as we sit around the table, have a cup of coffee, and talk about what's next, God.